Welcome back to Strikler, guys, and today we've got a big update for you. Joe Rogan walked into the Oval Office, talked to Trump about psychedelic drugs for veterans, and walked out having changed federal policy. That actually happened. Rogan had been pushing hard for ibogaine research, a psychedelic compound showing real promise in helping veterans deal with PTSD and addiction.
I texted him on Friday about ibogaine, and I was telling him how there's all these
that's
vets.
a hallucinogen?
This is the one the vets use.
Yeah.
So they've had to go to Mexico to get this. So I've had these two different podcasts with Brian Hubbard and Rick Perry. Rick Perry was the governor of Texas, and they talked about ibogaine. And Brian Hubbard was relaying his story about how ibogaine saved him from addiction and fixed his brain. And then they had all these other stories of all these other veterans and all these different people that had PTSD and opiate addiction. I know a lot of people who've gone down there to do it.
Rogan brought it up directly with Trump, explained how effective it could be, and Trump just said, done. The next day at a UFC event in Miami, Trump spotted Rogan, shook his hand, and confirmed it was handled. An executive order was signed shortly after to fast-track psychedelic drug research for veterans. Say what you want about both of these guys, and there's plenty to say, but that's actually a good outcome for people who need real help.
I told them about it. I said how effective it is, and I said, and it's been held up for so long. And he said, what are you looking for? Are you looking for FDA approval? He goes, it sounds good to me. He said, let's do it. And so literally, he sees me at the UFC the next day, shakes my hand and says, it's done.
Wow.
That's what he was saying.
Now, the reason fans were even asking what those two were talking about is because of this whole UFC White House situation. Rogan himself called it a gimmick, and yet he's still going to be there on June 14th calling the fights.
Yeah.
Are you excited for the White House card? That looks really good.
Yes. I'm excited. It sounds crazy. I know it's going to be very high security and high stress and weird to have a fight at the White House in the middle of a fucking war. But I would hope the war will be sorted out by June, but quite honestly, I'm not confident that that's going to be the case.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so that would be weird.
Look, it's easy to criticize something and then cash the check anyway. We've all seen it before. But it does make you wonder how seriously anyone should take his complaints when he keeps showing up regardless. The event is happening, Topuria defends against Gaethia, and Rogan will be on the mic. Islam Makhachev, meanwhile, is out here playing games with the UFC's scheduling, and honestly, good for him. Dana White said August. His manager said July. Then Makhachev himself got on social media and basically said July too. The hand injury apparently killed what would have been a massive Topuria super fight at the White House, which is genuinely gutting because that fight had a blockbuster written all over it. Instead, Ian Machado Gary is apparently the front runner for the next title shot after beating Bilal Muhammad in Qatar last November. Moreover, the McGregor situation is just sitting there making everything more complicated. His comeback is reportedly set for July against Holloway during International Fight Week. Fine. But you cannot put McGregor and the Dagestani camp on the same event. That's just never happening. The bad blood from UFC 229 alone makes that impossible. Never mind everything that's happened since. So either McGregor moves, Makhachev moves, or someone doesn't fight in July at all. The UFC has made harder puzzles work before, but this one is genuinely messy. And speaking of that Holloway and McGregor matchup, Topuria was actually the most honest voice in the room when this came up. After Holloway got completely dominated by Oliveira at UFC 326 to lose the BMF title, Topuria admitted he doesn't know what to make of Holloway anymore.
Do you think he beats Max?
I don't. You never know. I thought that Max was going to beat Charles, and he lost by complete domination. So I don't know. With Conor, you never know. You never know. Sometimes he goes in, he makes it look easy. Sometimes he lost to Nate Diaz. Bro, when you lose to Nate Diaz, it's very difficult to make predictions about someone like him.
Moving on, the Topuria and Sarukian back and forth is entertaining, but Topuria's comments were a bit much.
I'm really impressed of how dumb he is.
Oh, tell me why.
He's a retard. I don't know. He looks like a kid. He's a kid. Like his mentality. He's dumb as fuck. I don't know. Everything that I saw about him in the internet, it's embarrassing.
Calling Sarukian dumb on a public platform without really explaining why just makes you look arrogant. Sarukian pointed that out himself. If you're going to come at someone, at least have a reason. And Sarukian has a point about being ignored. Topuria is out here praising Oliveira, Gaethje, Holloway, net fighters he sees as worthy opponents. But somehow Sarukian, the guy most people think deserves the next title shot, doesn't get a mention. That's not an accident. That's avoidance dressed up as disrespect.
He is his own fan base, but like he feels he behaves like he's untouchable and like he's superstar, but he's not. And I'm gonna bring him back on the earth
Tsarukyan also gave Topuria zero chance of submitting Makhachev, saying not even Khabib could have done it. He's probably right on that. Topuria is elite, genuinely one of the best in the world right now, but Makhachev on the ground is a different animal entirely. Tsarukyan spent 3 rounds finding that out.
You think no chance against Islam?
Him? No, zero.
I think he said he wanted to submit him.
Submit Islam. Yeah, knocked out Islam. It's way more. He has more chance than submit Islam. I think Khabib cannot even submit Islam.
Then there's Paddy Pimblett. Topuria's verdict was basically, it's over for him. He said Pimblett looked genuinely bad in his recent fight, worse than expected, and that there's no realistic road back to the top for him at this point. Harsh? Absolutely. But also hard to argue with. Topuria almost seemed annoyed that Pimblett had the nerve to look that bad before they ever got a chance to fight. And honestly, that reaction makes sense. Nobody wants their long-awaited rivalry to end like that.
Were you surprised that the fight played out that way?
I was a little surprised. Yeah, I was a little surprised of how bad Paddy really is.
You weren't expecting that. Were you expecting him to win?
I was expecting him to win, to be honest. I was expecting him to take Justin down, to, I don't know, to do a different fight, like to really fight. But what he did inside the octagon in that fight, it surprised me a little bit. He really proved that he's a little sausage.
So what are your thoughts about this? Let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe for more MMA content like this.